Hey guys, I'm Ali Reza Haqqi from Iran. In this video I'm gonna show you a new method for solving cubic equations which I discovered. I call it AHAD method, which means Ali Reza Haqqi differentiation method. As you guessed, in this method we use derivatives for solving cubic equations. Let me explain the method. Consider this equation: x cubed plus ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 as the general form of any cubic equation. While a, b, and c are arbitrary complex numbers and the coefficient of x cubed is 1. This is an important note. In AHAD method, we use a formula for finding one of the roots of this equation. X equals xd plus the cubic root of v0 plus the square root of v0 squared plus v1 cubed plus the cubic root of v0 minus, here we have plus and here we have minus, the square root of v0 squared plus v1 cubed. But what are xd, v0 and v1? Since the left side of this equation is a cubic function, we can call it y of x, for example. Then v0 equals negative y of xd over 2, or we can show it like this: negative yd over 2. v1 equals y prime of xd over 3, or simply y prime d over 3. And xd is the root of second derivative of y of x with respect to x. xd is the answer of this equation, or simply this equation. Now let's see some examples. Two x cubed minus 4x squared minus 2x plus 4 equals 0. In this example, the coefficient of x cubed is not 1, but we can change it into 1 by dividing both sides of this equation by 2. Divided by 2, x cubed minus 2x squared minus x plus 2 equals 0. First of all, we should find xd, which is the root of second derivative of y of x. So first we should call the left side y of x. Then we should find its derivatives. The first derivative, 3x squared minus 4x minus 1, and the second derivative, y prime of x, 1 by prime of x, by second of x, 6x minus 4. We should put it equal to 0 to find its root. xd equals 4 over 6, or 2/3. Then we should find v0 and v1. v0 equals negative yd over 2, and v1 equals y prime d over 3. So first we need yd and y prime d. We can find them by putting xd in y and y prime. Y of xd, or simply yd, equals 2/3 cubed minus 2 2/3 squared minus 2/3 plus 2. This equals 20/27. Y prime of xt, or simply y prime b, equals 3 times 2/3 squared minus 4 times 2/3 minus 1. This equals -7/3. Now we can find V0 and V1. V0 equals negative yd over 2, which equals -10/27. And V1 equals y prime d over 3, which equals -7/9. Now we should use the formula to find one of the roots of this equation. X equals xt plus the cubic root of V0 plus the square root of V0 squared plus V1 cubed plus the cubic root of V0 minus the square root of V0 squared plus V1 cubed. By using a calculator or Taylor series of these expressions, we can see that this becomes 2. Okay, now we have just one of the roots of this equation. But according to fundamental theorem of algebra, any equation of degree n has exactly n roots. So any cubic equation must have 3 roots. But now we have just one of them. So what should we do now? If L, M, and K are 3 roots of this equation, of an arbitrary cubic equation, for example, x cubed plus ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. If these numbers are the roots of this equation, then we can write the left side of this equation in form of x minus L times x minus n times x minus k. Now if we have one of the roots of this equation, by dividing the left side of this equation by x minus that root, for example, we have k, then you will get a quadratic function. By solving this equation, the answer of this division, we will find the other roots. Simply, the roots of this expression are the roots of the other roots of this cubic equation. Let me show you.
Here we found one of the roots, which is x equals 2. Now if we divide the left side of the equation, I mean y of x, by x minus 2, we get a quadratic function. X squared minus 1. By putting this equal to 0, we will have a quadratic equation. The roots of this equation are the other roots of this equation, cubic equation. X equals 1 and x equals -1. So three roots of this cubic equation are x equals 2, x equals 1, and x equals -1. Now let's have another example. X cubed minus 4x squared minus 9x plus 36 equals 0. The coefficient of x cubed here is 1, so we can start using add method. First of all, we should find xt. After calling the left side y of x, y prime of x equals 3x squared minus 8x minus 9, and y prime of x equals 6x minus 8. We should put it equal to 0 to find xt. 8 over 6, or simply 4/3. This is our xt. Then we should find v0 and v1. But before that, we need to find yd and y prime d. So we should put xt in y first. Four third cubed minus 4, 4/3 squared minus 9, 4/3 plus 36, which equals negative 260 over 27. Y prime d equals 3 times 4/3 squared minus 8, 4/3 minus 9 equals negative 43 over 9. Now we can find v0 and v1. v0 equals negative yd over 2 sorry. This equals 520 over 27. And this equals negative 43 over 3. Then v0 equals negative 260 over 27. And v1 equals negative 43 over 9. Now we can find the first root by using the formula. xt plus the cubic root of v0
plus the square root of v0 square plus v1 cube plus the cubic root of v0 plus the square root of v0 square plus v1 cube. Sorry, here is negative. Okay. This simply equals 4. And the last step is to find the other roots of this equation. By dividing y of x by x minus 4 equals 0. X squared minus 4x, x cubed minus 9x plus 36 over x minus 4 is equals x squared minus 9, which its roots are 3 and negative 3. So the roots of this equation are x equals 4, x equals 3, and x equals negative 3. Let's have another example. This is our last example. X cubed plus x squared plus x plus 1 equals 0. First we should check the coefficient of x cubed. It is 1 and it's okay. So we should call it the left side y of x, and then we should find xt. Y prime of x equals 3x squared plus 2x plus 1, and y prime of x equals 6x plus 2. By putting this equal to 0, x equals negative 2 over 6 or negative 1/3. This is our xt. Then we should find v0 and v1. First we should put xt in y of xt, or simply we can write it yd. Negative 1/3 cubed plus negative 1/3 squared plus negative 1/3 plus 1 equals 20 over 27. And y prime b equals 3 times negative 1/3 squared plus 2 negative 1/3 plus 1 equals. Sorry, let me open the door. I'm so sorry. It was my mother. Okay, y prime b equals 2/3. And then we can find v0 and v1. v0 equals negative 10 over 27, and v1 equals 2/9.
Then we can find one of the roots by using the formula xd, which here is -1/3 plus the cubic root of v0 plus the square root of -10/27. I mean v0 square plus v1 cubed plus the cubic root of v0 minus the square root of v0 squared plus v1 cubed. This equals -1. So this is our first root. To find the other roots, we should divide y of x by x minus -1, which equals +1. Y of x cubed plus x squared plus x plus 1. What are you doing, Mom? Divided by y plus 1. This equals x squared plus 1. By putting this equal to 0, we'll get x equals +I and x equals -I. Mom, please be quiet. And we know that I is the root of -1, which is a complex number. So the roots of this equation are -1, I, and -I. Now let's review all the steps again. First of all, we should check that if the coefficient of x cubed is 1 or not. Checking the coefficient of x cubed. It should be 1. If it wasn't, you can change it into 1. This is not the main step. Add method starts from here, the second step. Then you should find xd, which is the root of y of x, y prime of y second of x, the second derivative of y. Sorry, I got confused. Xt is the root of second derivative of y. Then we should find v0 and v1. Okay. The next step is to find one of the roots by using this formula: xd plus the cubic root of v0 plus the square root of v0 squared plus v1 cubed plus the cubic root of v0 minus the cubic root of v0 squared plus v1 cubed. Pay attention to these signs. Here we have plus, and here we have minus. And the last step is to find the other roots, the left roots. By dividing y of x by this root, x minus this root, x minus this expression. We can call it k, for example, x minus k. This is AHAT method. Although there is so many ways for solving cubic equations, but this method has so many advantages. For example, it's general and you can use it for solving any kind of cubic equation without any limitation. And you can use it for solving cubic equations manually without any calculator or computer. And it's easy. The most important property of this method is that it's easy to use and memorize. Now, to see my other mathematical research and the proof of this method, please go to my web library with this address: math-means-love is not underlined dash dot over dot dash blog.com. Please subscribe and thanks for watching.